Hello everyone, and welcome to a very special First Strike. Not much of a surprise, this time, we're talking about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the latest in the royal line of the Zelda series, and a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, not simply a spin-off like Age of Calamity. Breath of the Wild broke so many records, and rightfully so, as not only was it the first game in the series to lean into its open-world exploration design over the standard dungeon and MacGuffin affair, it did so in ways that other games only ever dabbled in. By designing the world to operate on a variety of systems that work in concert together, we could interact with the game world in ways that felt natural, no pun intended. Now, with an unbelievably strong groundwork laid down, what could Nintendo possibly do to expand on the creative yet intentional function of the gameplay? It's time, everyone. Let's talk about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I've been laboring over how to talk about this game in a way that can do justice to what's being offered here, but without spoiling anything. I know there are leaks and videos pouring like a waterfall from the sky, but if you, like me, have miraculously avoided those, I don't want to be the one to ruin it. I may be figuring this out as I go, but one thing I can say is this game covers many of the same beats as Breath of the Wild, but with new twists. Because of this, there will be no gameplay footage beyond the, quote, Great Plateau tutorial section of this game, here being called the Great Sky Island. Story-wise, you begin by exploring caverns beneath Hyrule Castle with Zelda that contain glyphs and artifacts from a new ancient civilization known as the Zonai, who apparently founded the Kingdom of Hyrule with the Hylians, and the modern Hylians are descendants of both groups. All this is already really cool, even if it opens up possible continuity problems, but really an official timeline was never meant to exist anyway. After that, you come across the creepy mummy zombie from the trailer, sealed by a magical hand. The seal is broken, the name Rauru is just randomly dropped, and it's a name longtime fans would know. This mummy then implies he knows both Link and Zelda somehow, and an evil red spaghetti erupts from him, injuring Link's arm very severely, and it completely decays the Master Sword and opens a chasm below that Zelda falls into before vanishing. It's a whole lot happening in that moment. Link is saved by that same magical arm, and all of them are whisked away to who knows where as Hyrule Castle is lifted into the sky, rocks falling from the heavens, and caves and chasms opening up all over the land. Link wakes up an unknown amount of time later and is told his arm had to be replaced by that magic one from earlier in order to save his life. That voice is later revealed to be Rauru, a long-gone Zonai and the first king of Hyrule. Zelda apparently asked him to give Link the Purapad, a new version of the Sheikah Slate, though a bit stripped back in features, and Rauru then guides him, providing Link's new arm with cool magical abilities. Zelda keeps appearing in visions a couple times before vanishing again, and she seemingly receives the decayed Master Sword somehow. Once you dive back down to Hyrule, your goal is clear. Find Zelda. It's interesting actually that the end goal of Tears of the Kingdom involves going out and scouring the world for clues, while Breath of the Wild is kind of the opposite, with the goal in that game being visible and clear the entire time surrounding the castle, but you need to spend your time preparing around the land itself. It's as if the need to explore the world searching for everything you can find is even more central to the story this time around. While I liked having the endgame always in sight before, it can't be understated how interesting the far corners of the land are, so removing that knowledge of the destination is completely fascinating, and I am intrigued to no end, so much that I just typed the wrong version of the word no in my script. I can't say why here without spoilers, but this game feels way more connected to the series past than Breath of the Wild ever did, and I must probe it for answers, though I suspect I will continue to ask more questions in the end. And that's just how I love it. In short, this game kind of feels like The Empire Strikes Back compared to Breath of the Wild's New Hope, and I really hope it turns out to be just that good. I adore this new look for the Zelda series that started in the last game. Realistic graphics are impressive and all, but the games that create their own visual style always last longer. If you're paying attention, those games that use a realistic style for the graphics tend to have distinctive UI designs. Take the Grand Theft Auto series. Even if you seldom touch those games like me, you probably recognize the cover art immediately. It has a look that sticks in your brain. The Breath of the Wild and now the Tears of the Kingdom games both have a kind of a dull type font and basic look in its menus, but everything else about the game is gorgeous. Look at any screenshot of these games. It's like the most beautiful anime acrylic painting scene I've ever seen. The fashion, architecture, items, magic, characters, everything looks uniquely like Zelda and unlike anything else on the market. Now, I recognize that everybody has different tastes when it comes to visual design, but there are so many things here that make me go, ooh. And if you know me personally, artwork doesn't tend to do that for me, regardless of the beauty. Then, of course, there's the music. It's still minimal here, but there are clear concepts even in the minimalism. Hyrule is still punctuated by sultry piano tones here and there, but the Sky Islands have woodwind tones like oboes and bassoon. I love when music does this, using the instrumentation and arrangement to distinguish different ideas. Don't think I forgot about the battle themes either. Most of them provide just enough excitement to an encounter to feel great, but the big bombastic boss themes are thrilling. Especially when I got to a major boss fight, not pictured here. The excitement and thrill was so much more because of the music. It was very cool, if straightforward, Zelda-style boss fight, but it was heightened to breach the atmosphere by the music. Maybe this was a thing in Breath of the Wild too, but I missed it there. The cooking minigame has this thing where Link will hum a little tune. If you know your Zelda history, these are all quiet, but classic tunes from across the series. I caught him humming Zelda's Lullaby, Epona's Song, Saria's Song, the Song of Storms, the Ballad of the Goddess, and I think Breath of the Wild's main theme, all just being hummed while he's cooking. More than that, if you pay careful attention, Rito Village's theme is obviously the Dragon Roost Island theme from the first appearance of the Rito in Wind Waker. I can't help myself from being awestruck by every sight and sound this game has to offer. If I haven't heaped enough praise on this game yet, things are about to get real good. The art design is essentially the same as Breath of the Wild, and the story is kind of remixing classic ideas from the series prior. But the gameplay largely borrows from Breath of the Wild as well, but the new ideas take it to whole new heights, and yes, I meant to use that pun. So let's start with the familiar stuff. We have here towers to fill the map, shrines filled with puzzles and challenges to complete to get more health and stamina. We have the paraglider, Korok seeds, cooking, sound and temperature gauges, side quests, stables, stores, the Puripad. That's all pretty much the same. A couple new things are obviously filling spots that were previously held by something else in Breath of the Wild. I don't want to say exactly what they are, but there's something like those memories that Link finds across the world to tell the story. Here there's about 11 of those. There are 4 dungeons, if you will, that unlock new abilities for Link, much like the Divine Beasts quests and the Champion's abilities. And again, I will not be spoiling how they work and what they are. You have 4 unique abilities given to you during the tutorial that guide your combat and exploration through every moment of the game. Now, while the existence and purpose of these abilities are the same as those Sheikah Slate runes, these are completely different, and I think way, way more useful than those abilities. Before I move on to the other new ideas in this game, I want to spend some time on these new abilities. They're all related to Link's arm. If you saw Nintendo's gameplay demo, you've seen what these are, but I really don't think you can imagine the impact they have on gameplay. So I want to go in order of utility here. First of all, you have the recall ability. This basically replaces the stasis rune, but instead of stopping the object, it reverses the movement of the object. It's a very cool idea, but maybe I'm just not creative enough. I don't tend to use it very often. Ascend is a little more useful. It allows you to basically swim through solid material above you and land on top of it. It's pretty handy, actually. It saves a lot of time getting out of caves and provides one more method to make climbing faster and easier. But now we're getting to the real fun stuff. First of all, there's Ultra Hand. It's kind of a dumb name, but it basically lets you glue things together and move them around, similar to the Magnesis rune. I guess there could be worse names for this ability. It's a pretty cool gameplay mechanic, as there are slabs of wood and stone, boulders, even things like wheels that can be stuck together in all sorts of ways. It's not very limited in how you put them together either. It will automatically snap to some spots that maybe you don't want to freehand, like when you need a right angle or dead center on something, but you can largely stick stuff together however you like. I spent way too much time trying to build a cart that I could steer by tilting it, and I never quite pulled it off. This ability leads to some of the most satisfying puzzles in Zelda history. Even in the tutorial, it sets you up nicely with a platform sliding down a wire above you, and there's some platforms and hooks just conveniently piled up by the wall. Nice stuff. I'm going to take a quick break to talk about a new element that makes this ability so much more fun. The Zonai made all of these devices that you can find littered around and can even carry with you in capsules. These include things like fans, wing gliders, and flame emitters. You can't quite make it swimming across the lake? Build a raft. Don't got one of those handheld fans? Here's some Zonai devices for you. It's very cool stuff, and again, there's way more surprises in store with these if you've managed to avoid the spoilers. It's really awesome. I really don't want to ruin all the surprises. These devices do have another meter. You have this portable energy cell to power these after you smack them with something to turn them on. And you can find these Zonai charges to refill that meter for a bit. It's really like another stamina bar, essentially. There are also these gumball machines in the sky that you can put some of those Zonai charges in order to get a bunch of device capsules. It's a lot like cooking, just with technology. It's like a manufacturing machine, I guess, is the best way I can put it. All of that is really, really awesome. I truly can't overstate just how much fun it is. But Ultra Hand is still not the most useful ability in this game. That is the Fuse ability. Fuse blows open the gameplay like nothing else. Basically, you can take your weapons, shields, and arrows and fuse them together with something. Almost anything, really. Sometimes you use materials like your monster parts and food materials, and sometimes just, stuff lying around like the boulders and such. I was particularly delighted by the spiky shield I made, which could take out those keys bats for me with no effort at all, as well as my wooden stick. Not useful, but hilarious. There are two reasons the Fuse ability is the best thing for this game. One, it can extend the life of any weapons you have and provide other enhancements. Basically, the cool fire sword that you would only find every once in a while in Breath of the Wild is now something you can make just by slapping a flame emitter on your sword. You can get way more solid shields by putting a stone slab platform on it. You never have to worry about running out of flame or ice or bomb arrows because you can make them anytime you want. They even tweaked the controls just a little bit to make all of this easier to do. There's definitely some ways they could improve on that yet. I really wish there was like a type selection thing where you could go up and down between different materials. But basically, I'm literally fusing things constantly. I'm also being way more deliberate about picking up everything I see. And that's the second reason that this ability is the best thing to happen to this game. It gives each and every material up to 2 to 3 uses instead of just 1. Amber used to be kinda useless for the most part in Breath of the Wild. As much as I remember, you sell them and you upgrade your armor with it, and that was pretty much it. But now, Amber has been tweaked, and now it's one of the best fusion materials for weapons. There are definitely some materials I've hardly used yet, but now I'm holding on to those materials that I would have otherwise sold in Breath of the Wild, so I can fuse them with stuff. It is so much fun, and these options make exploring the Sky Islands just a little less intimidating, and as well as some other areas that I didn't see coming at all, and refused to spoil. Short version, this game might be way larger than Breath of the Wild. There are also a few other things that are similar to Breath of the Wild, like these glowing cave frogs that drop what looks like it's kind of a special currency, like the monster coins or whatever that one freak used in Breath of the Wild. And he's back, by the way. And there's another kind of currency type thing that is used to upgrade and expand the energy cell. I even recently, I don't have this written in the script, but I just found yet another currency-like thing that I believe either upgrades or extends the time period, or like the recharge time for those special abilities, the champion-style abilities. But I just found that one, so I'm not sure how that works yet. Basically, to boil it all down, this game is definitely a sequel to Breath of the Wild, with enough familiar concepts to be familiar if you've played that game, and the same basic map design overall. But the new ideas here are way more impressive than I ever could have imagined, and might make this the new definitive title in The Legend of Zelda. I've left out a ton of things that I would love to talk about, but even if you have got some spoilers here and there, this game is so worth buying and playing. Pitfalls? Boy, I don't know. I'm sure there's people out there that can find something to complain about here. If I had to guess, it might be related to the fact that weapons and stuff still break. That was the main complaint that I heard about Breath of the Wild. In my opinion, playing around with the fuse ability is enormously fun, and well worth putting up with the durability factor. This game also has its own version of the Malice that had covered Hyrule and caused contact damage before, and this one looks like the damage is semi-permanent, like you can lose some of your hearts for a little while. I haven't experienced yet how bad this might become, but I could see it being very frustrating. I have seen a few ways to eliminate one of the other past annoyances, which was slipping in the rain. I found a cave lizard very early on that looks like it can be used for a sticky elixir. I think I tried it once, and you do still slip a bit, but it's definitely better. I'm also not sure if the new, quote, champion abilities will be as useful as they were before. I have one right now, and again, I'm not spoiling things, but it does seem just a little bit yet less useful than the counterpart that we had in Breath of the Wild. I sincerely doubt any annoyances could ruin my honeymoon period with this game. Maybe 3 to 4 years from now I can take an honest look back at things that maybe aren't so good, but for now, I'm flying higher than one of those Sky Islands. Look, I'm hardly an unbiased source, but my opinion, the only acceptable reason to not at least try this game is if you don't have a Switch, don't know anybody with a Switch, and cannot afford a Switch. There should be as many copies of this game sold as there are Switch owners, just like Breath of the Wild. It's hard to say right now that whether it could be as revolutionary as Breath of the Wild, but with Ultra Hand and Fuse, it just might be. These systems are the best thing to happen in gaming in about 6 years. Count carefully. You'll get it. I really think we've got an easy choice for Game of the Year, but this is all my opinion, and I am absolutely biased. Just being honest. We'll see what happens when December rolls around this year. Alright, I know this was much longer than most of my first strikes, but it is Zelda. I'll be playing this game for probably about a year or so, if history holds true, and I'll be loving every second of it, and I hope you are too. Pro tip here, don't wait for a sale. It's going to be at least 4 years probably before the price drops, and besides that, it's well worth the money. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on the game. Let me know if you did. Leave some spoiler-free gameplay stories, please, if you would, in the comments. I'd love to see it. My favorite gameplay story so far is probably fighting my first battle Talus, which is that stone monster, but with a little fort on its head and other monsters on top. That was so much fun. I'm still working on other backlog reviews. It's going to be a long time before this one, but more reviews are coming, so make sure you subscribe and you're ready for that one. Enjoy Hyrule, the Sky Islands, and the rest of the game, and I'll see you soon. Later!